Hello, BookTube. I've got a tiny little mail haul for you here. It's very, very early, so most of the day's mail has not come, especially considering that this is Saturday. And Saturday's mail is usually very strange, sometimes getting to me at 9 or 10 at night. So there may well be mail tomorrow, but I didn't want our little streak to be imperiled any more than it was already yesterday. So I thought we'd go through our tiny amount of mail, and really, mail haul videos are to chat and catch up with you anyway. Uh, it's a it was a beautiful, very early morning. We had a bright, sunny dawn, but that has changed. Heavy, uninterrupted, low-level cloud cover has moved in. So I don't know how long this is going to stay, but it definitely adds a sort of an autumnal chill to the day. One of you pointed out in an earlier video of mine, one of you pointed out that suddenly my jumpers have appeared, my sweatshirts have appeared in videos. Yep, that is absolutely true. I am pulling the whole lot of them out of the closet and cleaning them and putting them, in a pile where I can easily get at them, because I think that corner has been turned. You're always hesitant in Boston. I'm always hesitant to make that change, regardless of whether it's summer to winter or winter to summer, because you never know if there's going to be a revenge there. There's going to be one sort of boomerang return of the heat of summer. I don't think that's going to happen. I think now in mid-October, we're well past it. So the days of shirt sleeve walking around are probably gone for another few months. And the patented Steve sweatshirts are now getting hauled out and dusted off. I had a wonderful night last night. Just wonderful. I did a live stream on Jimmy Nuts' channel, Chatting with Nuts, the Fantasy Network. If I remember, I'll leave a link to it down below. It was so much fun. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Just rambling on all kinds of subjects. It's always wonderful to talk with somebody who knows how to play with me. I have nothing. I am a very approachable, cuddly person, but I love to play rough. I absolutely love to play rough. And typically, the closest friends that I've made on BookTube get that. They get that that's what I like to do, and they respond accordingly. And Jimmy got it perfectly. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time. I don't think it takes much imagination to realize that if you're talking to me for 20 minutes or so, you're going to get the sense that I'm not your enemy, that I'm not attacking you. And therefore, if you're thinking on your feet, if you're thinking on the fly, you're going to realize, okay, well, he's being savage to a whole bunch of things that I like. But all my instincts are telling me that he also really likes me. So maybe I should just, take a step back and have fun with that. It's not the end of the world. I don't need everyone to like what I like. However, the alchemy was that happened. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. I wanted to add one note that a number of you have been emailing me about. I'll leave a link to the video, but I want to leave one note. A number of you were emailing me in a bit of confusion because in the video I seemed to be reading something, and a lot of you were under the impression that I could see the chat as it was happening on the side. No, it's just me being an amateur YouTuber. I was looking at Jimmy instead of at the camera. That's why it looked like I was reading stuff. But unless he posted a chat comment up on the screen, I could not see it. I could not see the chat. So I wasn't ignoring anybody. But it was absolutely wonderful. I want to have him on this channel. I want to go back on the Fantasy Network. I want to go. It was just wonderful. A wonderful, wonderful time. My only concern is the concern that I have with all of you little daffodils, which is that I got the impression after the 2-hour mark that he was getting tired, because you're all at one point or another in your day, you all start longing to become drooling blobs on your pillow. I thought I sensed that a little. So I was wistful to end the conversation and say goodnight. And then I move on to reading. I took the bean out because, I had the lights on in the room, and I was talking at top volume to the camera at a time when ordinarily she is curled up on my pelvis and is sound asleep. So I took her out one last time, and then I read. I got the night's reading done, including a book that I had flipped through and sort of ooh and ahh'd about. Last night I sat down and read it, and also chased down a lot of its references, and that's this. Oh my God, this was so good. Oh my God, this was so good. every single little detail that you could possibly be curious about how scientists know what they know about these animals that have been gone for billions of years. How do they know that? How do they know when they make an estimated guess about the color of scales or feathers, when they make an estimated guess about nesting behavior or hunting behavior, what are they basing that on? What specifically are they basing that on? If they're not using analogs for the present day, which is always tricky, then what are they basing it on? This goes through all of that, just in exhaustive detail, but beautifully written. I kept remarking to myself as I was going through this, when I would get to a period like that about, genetic analysis or morphological analysis, I would think, this is really complex, but I could hand this to a 10-year-old who was interested in dinosaurs, and they would be able to follow along because of how well this author, Michael Benton, does his work. He does such a good job of it that even the complex stuff is very clear. I just love this. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm glad that it's oversized because the pictures are incredible too. The pictures are just amazing. I've shown you some of them. While I'm talking about it, let's show you. Look at that. Some of them are in these multi-tone black and whites, and then others are in full color. Look at that. There's resting, looking at flying or gliding. What else? Let's show you just a couple more here. This is such a book. Look at that. You're analyzing how you know what you know. What are you basing your complex guesses on? What are you basing them on? Do we have a picture of that? Oh, yeah. The end. The fiery rain from the sky and the end of the dinosaurs. Or the beginning of the end of the dinosaurs. A point that this author makes that a lot of other dinosaur specialists always, roll their eyes and try to make, is that people think the typical shorthand, if you don't study this sort of stuff, is you hear that an asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs. And that has a neat kind of apocalyptic flair to it. But, people who think about it a little but not a lot say, well, how could that happen? Weren't there millions of dinosaurs all over the world? How could that happen? And also creationist fundamentalists who exist in America and in the Islamic world, but nowhere else, will use that as grist for the mill. They'll say, well, since that obviously couldn't happen, that obviously didn't happen. When dinosaur experts want to stress, it was an asteroid impact changed the climate. And the climate change wiped out the dinosaurs. Not that the asteroid killed all of the dinosaurs, but the whole thing. I cannot recommend this strongly enough. I will write about it, but I cannot recommend it strongly enough. So that was the bulk of the writing or the reading for last night. I really poured myself into this thing. So I read this. I gave a reread to parts of Robin Lane Fox's book Homer and His Iliad, inspired by that great TLS review that I read just the other day. And then I gave the rest. There wasn't much of the night left, so I gave the rest of the night over to rereading, specifically Octopussy by Ian Fleming, which I haven't read in decades. I reread Octopussy because I am a co-host for an event in November called Dr. November about spy and espionage books, fiction or nonfiction. And since the title of the event is taken from a James Bond novel, I thought I should read a couple of James Bond novels, reread a couple of them. I've never really been called on to reread them because they never really struck me as all that good. So I spent the rest of the night rereading Octopussy, which is not very long. It's a short thing, and it deservedly so. And it's just so bad. It's just so bad. The night before last, I read a Len Deighton novel that I've never read before. I've read some Len Deighton, but he was prolific. I have not read all of it. I read a book of his called Twinkle Twinkle Little Spy that was bad, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as any Ian Fleming that I've ever read. It was hokey and clunky and kind of impressed with itself. But even so, it read like Turgenev compared to Octopussy. So I don't know if this is an omen that my reading and rereading for Dr. November is going to be very dire. I hope not. I guess I have the ultimate backup, right? if I'm casting around in various espionage and spy and Cold War thriller fiction, and I'm encountering one dud after another, which could easily happen. I mean, this is two in a row. I have the ultimate backstop, right? I can just read John le Carré, who I know is great, and I know that I love almost all the books I've ever read by him. I could do that. Not only do I know that I love them, but quite a few of them reward rereadings. My favorite Le Carré book is A Perfect Spy, and that I have reread and found enormous things in. I know a lot of you will say, "Oh, isn't that predictable?" That's Steve's favorite Le Carré novel is also his longest Le Carré novel. It could be. It could be. It's not part of my critical apparatus. I could be personally. I like longer works, but I don't know. I'm not sure about that. We are doing a group read for Dr. November of The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, which is a sliver of the length of The Perfect Spy. And I reread it. I reread it as soon as I signed up for Dr. November, and I'll read it again in collaboration with my co-host. But I was struck all over again by how beautiful it is, how bleakly beautiful it is. What a chiseled novel it is. Whole worlds of insight in one perfect phrase in half a sentence. So it's not just length. It's not just me being what Alex Saranda refers to as a size queen. It's not just that. I also appreciate his shorter works, very much so. Last year I reread Call for the Dead and thought it was terrific. Just was amazed at how much got done in such a short book. So I have the ultimate backstop. I will read more Ian Fleming for my sins. I will read more Ian Fleming. I will also read more Len Deighton. Because not all Len Deighton is as sort of tinny and opportunistic as Twinkle Twinkle Little Spy. I know that for a fact. I've read Len Deighton and really liked him. So, but anyway, that was last night's reading. This morning is still too young for reading. I had a wonderful chat with Randy Ray, the literate Texan, where I'll post that on this channel. I got a bunch of reminders and emails that I did a video just recently, a response video to Jonathan Cohn talking about his philosophy of book reviewing. And like a moron, I forgot to include the link to his video, which is kind of the whole point of a response video. So I had to go and fix that. And also, I told myself yesterday that this morning, when it's nice and quiet and there's not many calls on my time until the day starts to ramp up, I told myself that I would start to experiment with my new tech, with mounting my cell phone on my tripod, putting a microphone in, and filming a video that way. I told myself that I would at least experiment with that, and I have not done it. I have not done it. Maybe I'll get to that today. I'm kind of thinking that after I do today's batch of videos, I'm just going to hunker down for an enormous amount of writing. I'm thinking that's what I'll do. But we have the mail. So we have a couple of periodicals and one package, and a bunch of Catch Me Up. So one of the periodicals is the New Yorker. This cover is a reference to the massive flooding that happened in New York last week. I haven't really looked through this to see what will be what. The two books that are reviewed are Michael Lewis's odious new book about Sam Bankman-Fried, Going Infinite, and also Teju Cole's new novel. Those are the two things that are reviewed in here, but I haven't sat down with it at all. And this next one, I haven't sat down with, and it is going to be a feast. This is the 60th anniversary edition of the New York Review of Books, and it is crammed with stuff. Let me show you. Look at no, not. I don't want the contributors. I want. I haven't cracked this at all. I haven't looked at it at all. But look at this table of contents. Just look at that. I'm not talking about looking at the names. Look at how full that is. This is just absolutely enormous. An enormous amount of reading. I haven't even gone through it yet to see the usual thing that I look at in these sorts of things, which is, are they reviewing anything that I have also reviewed? Because I'm going to love this. I'm going to read it with a pen in hand from front to back. Although now I wonder, is there anything here that I have reviewed? Left is Not Woke. February 1933, The Winter of Literature. I don't have that. I actually want it. Mozart in Motion, no. Bunch of books on Picasso, no. Bunch of books on Shakespeare, not one of them. Battle for Your Brain. The Pole by J.M. Coetzee is reviewed in here. Who does that? Michael Gora. Oh, that'll be a really good piece. Susan Faludi reviews 3 books that I have not read. Martin Fuller reviews a book I have not read. Howard French reviews, looks like 3 new books on China. One of them I read and really liked, China After Mao by Frank Decoter. So there'll be that. The others I will be learning about. Boy, oh boy, no, there's barely anything in here. That's actually good. That's actually great. That removes the butterflies. There's barely anything that they're covering that I have also reviewed. So that's wonderful. So now we'll do the package. Drum roll, please, because this is the only point in the video that might cause trouble. We'll just have to hope that it doesn't. What have we got here? What have we got for our one book? More books are coming. I feel certain of it. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is early November. All right, we're smooth sailing. We're not endangering the streak. This is by Chip Colwell, and it's called So Much Stuff: How Humans Discovered Tools, Invented Meaning, and Made More of Everything. Pretty ambitious for a thing that's 200 pages long. What have we got here? Over 3 million years ago, our ancient ancestors realized that rocks could be broken into sharp-edged objects for slicing meat, making the first knives. Yes, you knapped stones. It's not as easy as it looks. It's complicated to learn how to do. You can easily picture, you're so bad at it the first dozen times you try to do it, that it's only once you try that you suddenly realize this would have to be taught. Somebody would have to teach this to somebody else. And it's possible that someone old who can't really hunt on his own anymore might prove his value to the group by being a good teacher. This discovery resulted in a good meal and eventually changed the fate of our species and our planet. Yeah, okay, Chip. You're leaving out something there. It wasn't just the sharpened stones that resulted in a good meal. You're leaving out a key element there. The sharpened stones would not have done the work on its own. Not at all. Humans are defenseless, weak and defenseless. You can run forever in hot sunlight, and most other animals can't, sure. But that's not going to get you very far if you don't have claws, you don't have fangs, you don't have muscles, you don't have any senses. No, the other important element that you're leaving out there is that humans had allies. They had dogs who can run even further in the heat of the day, and who are also armed in a collection of them, a group of them, can protect a kill. So you lodge one of those sharp stone spears inside a giant elk, it runs off far faster than you can. Your dogs chase it. And when they finally bring it down, or it goes down on its own, they protect the kill from the other carnivores who are right around, who could easily dispel you from that kill. You'd have killed an animal that someone else would eat. The dogs can protect the kill until you get there, with fire, or with better tools and better equipment. But that's okay. People always leave out the dogs. With this book, archaeologist Chip Colwell sets out to investigate why humankind went from self-sufficient primates to non-stop shoppers, from needing nothing to needing everything. Along the way, he uncovers spectacular and strange points around the world. An Italian cave with the world's first known painted art, a Hong Kong skyscraper where a priestess channels the gods, and a mountain of trash that rivals the Statue of Liberty. Through these examples, he shows how humanity took 3 leaps that led to stuff becoming inseparable from our lives, inspiring a love affair with things that may lead to our downfall. Okay, Chip, sounding like you shouldn't stray from the dig. We'll see. This is a pub sheet and not the book, but some of this is sounding a little manipulative. There are plenty of people in the world who don't have stuff. It's obviously not a biological imperative. Now, as landfills brim and oceans drown in trash, Colwell issues a timely call to reevaluate our relationship with the things that both created and threaten to undo our overstuffed planet. Okay, well, that actually does sound good. So this comes out in the first week of November, which is, believe it or not, horrifying, almost upon us. And it's all about stuff. Why do humans have stuff? Why do they accumulate stuff? I think the answers to some of those questions, like I said, are a little manipulative. That's a little bit easy. But still, it's probably a bit too early for me to read this. Even though I now have a finished copy, it's probably a little too early. I have a lot of October stuff. I probably can't be branching out to November stuff much yet. I have a lot of October stuff. still on the docket. So, but at least it's not something that caused me to scream. Yes. You think that the humans napping stone is the reason for the species' success when humans wouldn't be humans without dogs. But that's okay. Nobody ever credits dogs, so that's all right. Certainly doesn't cause a tirade. So there you go. One fairly interesting looking book. I might want to point out, I should probably ding this every time it happens. This is a fascinating work of nonfiction for Nonfiction November. Nonfiction November is coming right up when you are all, I hope, going to join me in reading a ton of nonfiction. It's a perfect candidate. Get your library to order a copy. That plus a gigantic stuffed issue of the New York Review of Books. Oh my God, that is going to be so much fun to read. Just so much fun to read and annotate. Weird to remember that I used to put these things aside and bring them to a hole-in-the-wall Chinese food restaurant every week. I would have already done it. I would have done that on Friday. So in eons past, for decades, I would have got this, and if I got it too late, I would not have opened it. I would have said, well, put it on the pile for next Friday. And I would have gone and done that. Now, I don't do that anymore. So I just read these things as they arrive. That's kind of weird to think. But anyway, that's my rambly just chat over the back fence video about, and that also continues our mail haul. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.